Welcome to Lee's Folktales channel. Get comfy and enjoy stories passed down through generations. The Village Temptress, Beauty's Deception. The Village Vixen. Lora possessed a beauty that wasn't like anyone else's. It was like a powerful magnet, pulling men towards her, unable to resist her charm. As she walked through the village, her confidence was so strong it almost seemed like she was arrogant. Her dress clung to her body, accentuating her curves, and she moved with a grace that seemed almost otherworldly, as if she didn't quite belong among mere mortals. Every man in the village couldn't help but be captivated by Lora. They watched her with a mixture of awe and admiration, whispering amongst themselves about her stunning appearance. Some couldn't even hide their stares, openly gazing at her every move. Even married men, who had promised their hearts elsewhere, found themselves drawn to her. They couldn't resist her allure, their thoughts wandering to the pleasures she might offer them. In the evenings, Lora retired to her room, a sanctuary she had built with the wealth she gained from her seductive powers. It was a place of luxury, adorned with soft fabrics and lavish furnishings. There, she indulged herself, bathing in scented waters and adorning herself in fine silks and perfumes. As she prepared for the night, she dressed herself like a queen preparing for a royal court, every inch of her body a testament to her allure. Outside her door, the men of the village would gather, hoping to catch her attention. They sang songs and laughed, each one vying for her favor, hoping to be the one she chose. Lora listened to their sweet words from her window, her expression giving nothing away as she assessed their sincerity. And when she made her choice, she descended from her room with the confidence of a queen, leading her chosen companion into her private chambers. Despite her power over them, conflict arose among the men who sought Lora's affections. Each one wanted to be the only one in her life, leading to jealousy and aggression among them. Fights erupted in the streets as they fought for her favor, but Lora remained aloof, watching their antics with a hint of amusement. Lora's rivalry extended beyond the village, often finding herself in competition with other women. She would flirt with married men, enjoying the chaos she caused. Despite the gossip and rumors that surrounded her, Lora remained unfazed, confident in her own beauty and the power it afforded her. Her game of conquest continued, and one night, she set her sights on the high chief of the village. It was a daring move, knowing the scandal it would cause. She spent days planning her approach, studying his habits and crafting the perfect allure. When she finally made her move, it sent shockwaves through the community, but Lora reveled in the chaos she had caused. Under the brilliant glow of the moon, Lora prepared herself for an important occasion. She carefully chose her attire, selecting a magnificent gown crafted from the finest spider silk. Its threads shimmered in the torchlight, woven with intricate patterns and adorned with golden embroidery. With meticulous care, she painted her face, decorating it with swirling designs and delicate dots. Her hair was bound with ribbons as red as the flames, adding a touch of fiery elegance to her appearance. Taking a deep breath to steady her nerves, Lora set out towards the high chief's hut, her heart fluttering with anticipation. Inside the hut, the high chief sat regally upon a raised platform, encircled by his trusted advisors. Lora approached with humility, bowing her head respectfully and keeping her gaze lowered. The atmosphere was heavy with the scent of incense, and the murmurs of the advisors filled the air as they discussed matters of importance. As Lora drew nearer to the high chief, her pulse quickened with excitement. She felt the weight of the jewels adorning her, each gem a testament to her beauty and allure. When she stood before him, she raised her head slowly, meeting his gaze with a mixture of confidence and intrigue. She asked for a private audience, insisting that she had matters of utmost importance to discuss. With the departure of the advisors, a palpable tension filled the hut. Lora moved with grace, her body swaying to an invisible rhythm, her movements captivating the high chief's attention. As their eyes met, an electric charge seemed to pass between them. Suddenly, Lora collapsed to the floor, simulating a sudden illness. Lora continued her ruse, pretending to lose consciousness. The high chief observed her with a mixture of curiosity and concern, his expression masked in contemplation. Gently, He reached out to comfort her, his touch soothing against her skin. As the high chief leaned in to check her condition, she surprised him with a kiss, feigning confusion when he reacted with astonishment. His response was a mix of bewilderment and intrigue, his gaze lingering on her lips before returning to her face. With a hurried departure, Lora left the hut, leaving the high chief bewildered and questioning her motives. As she retreated into the night, she grappled with the weight of her deceit, knowing she had pushed the boundaries too far. The next morning, people started talking about something strange. They said they saw the high chief sneaking into Lora's house late at night. This surprised and confused the villagers. They always thought their leaders were better than that. Throughout the day, the talking got louder and more serious. People were sure something was happening between Lora and the high chief. This caused trouble for the high chief. His wife wanted to leave him and take half of his wealth. Other elders in the village were upset too. They called for a sudden meeting to talk about it. During the meeting, it became clear that all the elders had been fooled by Lora. They had all done things they shouldn't have with her. They felt weak and scared, thinking about their partners finding out. They looked at each other, feeling guilty and embarrassed. No one wanted to blame Lora because they knew they were just as bad. The high chief was angry and felt betrayed. He shouted at Lora, calling her a monster. He said she had ruined everyone for her own pleasure. He asked her how she could use her charm like that. His voice shook with emotion. The other elders looked at each other with shame, anger, and fear. They had all been tricked by Lora at some point. They knew they had helped her plan things. They felt sick when they realized they were just pawns in her game. While all this was happening, the women prayed to their God. Every evening, they gathered with the priest to pray for Lora and the men who had been tricked. They hoped God would help them against the evil in their village. Lora thought about the priest. Maybe he was the only man she hadn't won over. One evening, after the women finished praying, Lora went to see him at his hut. He was old but still strong. He seemed to be waiting for her. His eyes sparkled with anticipation, but he also looked cautious. "Lora," he whispered softly, his voice full of feelings. "I've waited for this moment for a long time." Coming closer, he took her hand, making her feel a shiver. "I know about the pain you've caused to all the women in the village, and I want to help you find peace and a new purpose in life," he said. Looking into his eyes, Lora felt a sudden rush of kindness from the priest. Tears formed as she felt her walls crumbling. I don't know what to say," she stammered. With a kind smile, the priest hugged her gently. "You're not alone, my dear," he said quietly. "I'll be here to help you." As she bid farewell to the priest, she wanted to be sure. Was the priest really faithful to God? To find out, she made a plan. If he didn't give in to temptation, she'd know he was truly good. So that night, she went to the priest's house while he slept. The firelight made weird shadows as she watched his calm face. With bravery, she went closer, curious to see if he'd stick to what he believed. The priest woke up suddenly and was surprised to see Lora there. "Lora," he said quietly, confused, "what are you doing?" She looked at him with longing and told him what she wanted. She touched his body, feeling his strength and self-control. Even though she tried to get closer to him, he stayed true to his promise not to have a romantic relationship, speaking gently but firmly. Feeling disappointed but not giving up, Lora kept trying to convince him, kissing him softly with warmth in her lips. He struggled inside, his hands hesitating on her shoulders, torn between love and his commitment to God. She undressed, hoping to change his mind. But the priest, faithful to his beliefs, turned away, refusing her advances. "Lora," he said sadly, "I can't give in. Physical desires pass quickly, but God's promises last forever." Lora felt hurt by his rejection, knowing he was right, but still feeling a strong desire for him. She moved closer to him, pleading softly, "Please, priest, just this once." She kissed his neck, but he held on to her shoulders, resisting temptation. The priest left the hut and looked up at the stars, feeling conflicted and burdened by his choice. Despite wanting to be with Lora, he remembered his promise to serve God and stay celibate. He walked slowly through the village, praying for strength and guidance. As Lora lay in bed, she couldn't stop thinking about the priest. Even though she knew he wouldn't love her back in the same way, she still thought he was amazing. As she drifted off to sleep, she dreamt about the priest's comforting touch and his words about God's love. In her dream, a mysterious voice warned her that if she didn't find redemption in the church, she'd get sores on her face. Lora ignored the warning from her dreams and went on with her life as usual. But one morning, when she woke up, she discovered sores on her face. It was a terrible shock, and she couldn't stop crying all day long. The villagers started avoiding her because of how she looked. Lora had a hard time finding food and a place to stay. People even spread rumors that she was cursed, making her feel even more alone. The priest kept doing his job, respected for his good character and dedication. He never talked about Lora's attempt to seduce him, using it as a lesson to be careful. People thought highly of him, seeing him as wise and devoted. Lora's life became very hard. Her once pretty face was now marked with sores, and the villagers didn't want anything to do with her. She had to wander around, begging for food and help. She felt ashamed and sorry for her past actions, thinking about what the priest had taught her.